speaking for myself, I always take a nice dump before a show.
Really clean things up.
I don't know if you guys, but and when I used to play sports, like back in high school, I would always go and take a nice little poopy before I'd play, and so and it always helped me. I don't know. I don't know if I was lighter or it made me swifter, but I don't know if it's nerves. It might be a little bit of nerves, but I'm never really. Once I get on stage, there's nothing really that shakes me. But yeah, I think that's my ritual, whether I like it or not.
My style is probably most comparable. I mean, obviously not as good, but like, you know, Mark Norman and Sam Morrill and Anthony Jeselnik. But the guy I admire most in comedy is Dave Chappelle, because he's going up there and he has that combination of being hysterically funny, but also having like a really strong, profound message in his comedy. And he's really saying a lot of stuff that is hard to say, but he's doing it in a really funny way. And I don't know, I just really admire him for that.
I want to devour everything that I can possibly get my hands on. I tend to gravitate more towards male comics because I grew up as the youngest child to older brothers, so I feel like it just felt more comfortable to me to be more on that kind of male side of the spectrum in terms of what I looked up to and what I kind of filled my brain with. But now it's so cool to, again, live in Rochester where you have a professional club and there's women all the time in and out on stage, filling an hour and doing this professionally. So like April Macy, Michelle Wolf, Tammy Pescatelli, but we've had so many amazing comics. And the list for the coming year, I don't know how many of these comics are actually going to be able to come and do their thing, but the list for 2020 is off the charts for male and female comics. So, but for a comic that I just freaking tickles me is Dan Soder. Just the mix of like nonsense and just intelligence, and he can, I don't know, I just love him. As a comic, I think I tend to watch as a student, so it's rare for me to sit in a comedy show and actually just be entertained and laugh as an audience member. I'm always thinking about like, okay, what did they do there? That's an interesting choice. Look at their body. I'm always taking in media that way, like processing it. But he is one that I'll watch and just be utterly entertained because I think he's just hilarious. So for me, that's a big deal as a comic to be tickled by another comedian like that.
It's really important to not think of yourself as a type of comedian and then ignore other skill sets. I think that's a trap a lot of newer comics can fall into. When I started, I was the same thing. I was just like, I'm going to beat the audience over the head with how clever I am. You know, I'm a clever joke writer, and that's going to be my thing. And Justin Brown, who's a local comic I look up to, literally, he's very tall. He pulled me aside and he was like, listen, man, you're a really good joke writer. And that's like maybe 30% of being a good comic. Like, you need to find ways to make the audience actually like you and want to listen to you. Which those who know Justin, that's totally him, like, you know, helpful, but kind of mean. But it was really important advice to me, you know. You need to be the life of the party. You need to be the kind of person that people want to listen to. And then also, yes, be a clever joke writer and also be good at crowd work. And, you know, it's really important to approach every skill set and try and learn how to do every little aspect of comedy.
I record all my sets, and I like basically force myself to go back and listen to them. It's real difficult sometimes to do that, but it's kind of a necessary thing. It's goes to another comic that I really look up to is Gary Goldman. And if you ever want to do a Google search on Goldman's comedy tips, and that's basically the Bible as far as like, you know, building a set, you know, going back and reworking it, tweaking a joke, adding tags, listening to audience reaction, writing out the joke, all of those things. It's super important. It's really difficult to go back and listen to yourself sometimes, especially if the set didn't go well. But it's, you know, like you just find something that you can take away from it. There's always little small victories in everything, you know, or you just delete it.
I think different comics are good at different things. Like, there's strengths and weaknesses that you have to work on. And like my strength would probably be my joke writing. My weakness at the beginning would probably be my stage presence, and still is. And, you know, I do a lot of open mics. I think I really I tell jokes a lot of times before I tell them at a show, but you know, there's that factor of being in the moment too, and being able to do something on a whim. And what's really helped me with that is hosting and you know, trying a little crowd work at open mics, because those aren't my strengths. But you know what, comedy is a lot more than joke writing, so you know, you got to try to get better at the things that you're not so good at.
I think the best comedians are the ones that make it seem like it's the first time they're telling you this thing, but they've rehearsed it. They know exactly the seconds they're going to wait till they say the next thing. They know, you know, if they want it to make it sound like they just came up with it, they know their body posture. They know the words they're using. They know everything. It's everything about what they're doing. It's probably been rehearsed thousands of times if they're, you know, a headlining comedian. So if you're seeing a special like on HBO or Netflix, like, they've been doing those jokes for years, most of them. Some churn out specials really quickly and it's a year or less, but for the most part, I think everything is calculated down to the angle of their body. You know, most of these comics are recording their set, audio at least, but also video to analyze. It's all these things and to get all of it down. Vulture has a cool podcast called Good Ones, and they talk to comics about they select a joke and they just dissect it, like talk about all the ins and outs of all the choices that they make most of the time. So yeah, I think a lot of it is just practice and picking out what works and what doesn't work. And it might look like it's the first time or that it's not calculated, but it's all freaking calculated.
You know, for me, again, it's really, about at the very least appearing natural. And I think oftentimes when I'm having a good time on stage, that's really when things are going well. You know, when I bartended for years, and we used to always say it's your job to have a good time tonight, you know, behind the stick. A bar is a party. People want the person running it to be having a good time. So I think that translates perfectly to the stage, you know, just it's important to have fun up there, you know. So if you're so nervous you're not going to enjoy it, that might hurt your set a little more, which is going to make you more nervous, you know, and that's sort of a vicious cycle. But I think that's really the important thing to me, is just have fun, have a good time, enjoy it.